Hello there, and greetings from Split again. I'm now in the 6th round, and since I have lost the last round and I only have 1.5 points in this tournament, so now I'm facing a weaker opponent. He's also not a rated player. I mean, he doesn't have international rating, but he does have a national rating. So this is why I put his national rating here in the description of the video, just for the comparison. So my national rating is 1767 and his is 1618. So this is just for the comparison. By the way, this was a kid I was facing. He's like, I think 11 or 12 years old, something like this. But okay, you never know with these kids. Some of them are very strong, some of them are not so strong, not so experienced. So it's always a surprise when you get a kid. What will you get on the other side of the board? But now after the game, I can say that he was obviously a weaker opponent. He didn't see many things in the position. I was better. I think I'm a better player, more experienced. I see more things, so and this is why I won the game. But there were a few moments in which I didn't see, and I could have blundered. Also, it's very difficult, to detach yourself from the impression you get of your opponent. So my impression after first few moves was that I'm facing a weaker opponent, and automatically my guard was very low. So this means that I was playing very quickly. So he spent in this for this game he spent, I think, more than an hour on his clock, and I spent like 10 minutes. So yeah, they say you have to play the board. It doesn't matter who is sitting in front of you. It's the only thing which matters is what is on the board. But it's in the real life it's not like this. It's just very difficult, to detach yourself from your image of your opponent. So this is also one thing I have to work on, besides chess, not to underestimate nor overestimate the opponent, but just try and play the board for real. Okay, so that being said, let me show you the game. I was white, so I opened the game with e4, and I was very surprised that he played c6. So usually the kids play, e5 and they go for Italian game. So c6 is Caro-Kann, so this told me that he probably has a coach and someone who is working with him, who helped him to prepare for the Caro-Kann. And he played the first several moves very quickly, so I guess he knows some theory. Here I just took the center, so I played d4, he played d5, we went for the exchange Caro-Kann, which I usually play. So after e takes d5, c takes d5, bishop d3 is played in order to stop development of his bishop. He wants to develop the bishop, I'm now stopping him. He played knight to c6, and now yeah, there are several possibilities how to go. From this point, I usually here play just c3. He was attacking the pawn, I'm protecting the pawn, and the game just goes on. He played e6, so he gave up the idea of developing his bishop. Usually I play h3 as the next move. If he plays, for example, here, if he plays knight, then I play h3 in order to stop the development of his bishop. But now, okay, he played e6, a passive move, so I don't have to worry about this bishop, but now he wants to develop this bishop on d6, so I'm just playing prophylactically with bishop to f4. Now, if he wants to develop the bishop on d6, I will just take the bishop and I will take his strong bishop. You can see that his pawns are on the light squares, my pawns are on the dark squares, so this is my strong bishop, light square bishop, his strong bishop is black, this dark square bishop, so if I can exchange, I'm fine. So this is what happened in the game. We exchange bishops, he went with the queen here. And now I was thinking, and this is maybe one example of this psychological moment. So I'm not sure I will play this move against the stronger opponent. So my natural move would be just to develop with the knight. But here I realized that he didn't develop his knight yet. And I realized that he doesn't have the dark square bishop. And I also realized that all his pawns are on most of his pawns are on the light squares. So I played this cute move, queen to g4, which violates some principles, but the more I look at this move, the more I like it. So maybe I wouldn't be, so eager to play it against the stronger opponent, but maybe I should have. So this is what I'm saying. So overestimating and underestimating our opponent are both bad things to do. So just looking at the board, this looks like a nice move because, yeah, it does put my queen on the X-ray attack by the bishop, but now it's attacking the pawn, and if I take this pawn, then the rook also most likely falls. So the only move he can play here actually is g6, and now you can see all his pawns are on the light squares, and he has light square bishop. So this makes his bishop very, very weak. But right now I'm facing a threat, so he can play, e5, attacking my queen, and then I don't have time to recapture. So I played queen to h4 here. So queen to h4 stops the natural development of his knight. If he develops the knight, for example, on d7, then I can play queen to h6 and then stop him from castling. And it's not so easy to escape. If my queen is on h6, his knight is on e7. He could try something like a knight to f5, but then I can just take this knight, and then my queen is here forever, and so forth. I can come with my knight here, and there are many attacking possibilities here. So he was thinking a lot about on this move, and he probably realized that if he plays the knight here, I'll capture it. If he plays the knight here on e7, I'll just come here. So he decided to give up his castling privilege and just play king to f8. Now, yeah, of course he cannot play queen to h6 because the knight is covering this. So, okay, he found a solution. And actually, the engine thinks the position is equal. So I thought here I was much better, already. He cannot castle, his bishop is bad, and he isn't developed. So I thought I was much better. But the engine says now everything is equal. Okay, so now I developed my knight to f3. I did consider briefly some other maneuvers, for example, knight to e2, or first play f4, since now it's guarded, and then play knight to f3, putting the knight behind the pawn, and then try to jump to e5. I was considering all kinds of moves, and then I just decided simple development move. And he continued, he played king to g7, so this was his way of castling by hand, I guess. Okay, I castled here, and now he developed his knight to g to e7. And now I saw the opportunity because this knight is under attack, and it's defended twice. And this is how I realized that I can play knight to e5, because now if he, let's say he takes, I attack the queen. Now if he takes the pawn, he's just losing the knight, because both of the defenders are gone, or if he moves the queen, then I have this check with which it's not very pleasant thing to have. I mean, it doesn't win immediately. He can just move the king here, but it's very bad for him. So this is what I was thinking here. So this is why I played knight to e5, realizing that he cannot take my knight so easily, and he was thinking a lot here again, and he decided to play knight to f5, so he's now hitting my queen. He wants to do something, and I like my queen here, so I decided to remove this knight, and I was thinking that this knight is the only defender of his king, so let's just remove it. So I took the knight, he took with the pawn, and now I played f4, which engine really hates. And the reason why engine hates this f4 so much is that I had a very nice move. This is queen to h6 check. So I could place my queen on a very annoying place, and he cannot take the queen. I mean, if he takes the queen, I take with this pawn with the fork. So I'm just winning a pawn, and my pieces are really, really excellent. So yeah, I missed this very nice move. Like I said, I played very quickly. I didn't spend. I think at the end of the game, my time was 1 hour and 23 minutes, and we started with 1 hour and 30. Okay, there is an increment, so overall I spent like 10 minutes. So I was just playing very quickly. I saw, okay, this knight is great here. I'll just play f4. If he takes, I have a very nice pawn. So this was just my just according to some general considerations, position aspects, and so on. I didn't calculate very much. Now he decided to develop his bishop. Okay, he's covering his pawns. This bishop is not very good because of all of these pawns on the light squares, but okay, he connected the rooks now. It's now time to develop my only undeveloped piece, so knight to d2. And here he played b5, and I think this is a bad move. Again, he was thinking a lot, and it's very difficult if you put yourself in the black shoes. I mean, it's very difficult to find some active plan here for black, because the pieces are not great, and I have a very strong knight in the center and so on. So he thought of maybe, you know, trying to the minority attack, which I guess it's okay as a plan, but probably needs to be prepared a little bit more, maybe with the rook here. I'm not sure how, but okay. He found the only possible way to, you know, to play actively, to try for the minority attack. So the idea is to challenge my pawn, to create a weakness maybe on a c file, backward pawn, and then you can pile up on the c file and you know, try to win this pawn and so forth. Okay, from my perspective, I saw that this pawn move now creates some holes. So these are two holes. So when the pawn was here, he was controlling this square, and also the pawn has the possibility of controlling c5. And now after b5, this square is vacant. So my original intention for this knight was to bring it on f3, you know, to support this knight. But then I realized that this is not actually an outpost, because he can always play f6 at some moment and my knight has to go. But this square, this c5 square, is a really nice outpost now, because there are no pawns. He cannot attack my knight, and if I decide to exchange the knights, then it's just a strong knight against the bad bishop. So knight to b3, you know, after the knights get exchanged, I have a strong knight on an eternal outpost against his bishop, which is, you know, not so good. And he made things easier for me, because he now initiated the exchange of knights. Okay, I took back, attacking his queen, and queen went to d8. So now he wants to exchange the queens, which I could have done, because the endgame should be better, because I have a strong knight against the bad bishop, but you know, it's far from endgame, so I wanted to keep my queen here, especially since his king is not so good, is not so secure. I can still play for the attack, you know, for example with g4 and h4, so I just moved the queen on f4. Now there is an idea of breaking with g4, you know, attacking this square. Maybe I can come here in the future, and so forth. So my queen is here, and it's ready for the attack, and also it's defending these penetration squares, so I don't need to be afraid that he will somehow penetrate with his queen. He played queen to b6 here. I guess he's still looking for his minority attack idea, and I put my knight on the outpost on c5. He put the another rook on the b file, so I guess he wants to push the b pawn. And I was thinking about, okay, what if he pushes the pawn? I mean, nothing really happens. I can just take the pawn back. If he takes with the queen, then I can, you know, it's difficult for him to stop my queen from penetrating. And the only problem is maybe this b2 pawn is not protected enough. So I was considering, you know, calculating these moves, and I decided to maybe to give some more protection to the b2 pawn, and also trying to double the heavy pieces on the f file before I open it with g4. So this is why I played rook to f2. Now I'm you know, protecting this pawn, and also this rook could slide here, and I have very nice, you know, elegant cannon here. And now he played again queen to d8. I guess he realized that I could slide here, so he wanted to stop it. Okay, I just continued with my plan, rook a to f1. And now, yeah, everything is ready for the break. But at this moment, he decided to push the pawn. So he was probably thinking that, you know, if I take the pawn, he can take and activate his rook. If I don't take the pawn, I can take, and then maybe he can get some activity over this file. But he missed a very simple fork here, and this is what I played, knight to a6. Now I'm forking, I'm attacking the rook, and I'm attacking the pawn. He has to move the rook, so rook b5 was played, and I just took the pawn. So he just blundered the pawn here. He played a5, attacking my knight, and my knight just slided back to d3, you know, ready to occupy this outpost once again. He played queen to c7. I'm not sure why. I guess he wants to protect this pawn for the future. Knight to c5 was played, so my knight is again on the outpost, and also This is preventing any attack on the C file, any activity on the C file. He played A4. I guess he wanted to steer the pot by, maybe opening some lines on the queen side. So I don't think he has bad ideas, but maybe he's ignoring my ideas too much. So his idea is to get activity on the queen side, to open the files and to try to put heavy pieces on the queen side and attack me from the queen side. But it's just too slow because now everything is ready for my attack. So I played G4 here, and yeah, there is nothing really much to do here. He played queen to A4, which I don't understand why he moved the queen here. Later I understood his idea. So he realized that this knight was too strong. Actually, the engine here wants him to give up the exchange immediately because this knight is too strong. And by playing this queen to A5, he's preparing this sacrifice of exchange, because it takes, and then this rook is pinned. So I don't know if he saw it, probably he did, but I didn't hear. I was just focused on my attack. So I took g takes f5, bishop takes f5, and I play queen to g5. And now I'm threatening to win the bishop. And at this moment he decides to take the knight. And now the best move would be just to take the bishop. And then his rook is hanging, he has to move his rook away, and then I can penetrate further with the queen and so forth. But I didn't play this immediately because I didn't see this pin, just frankly speaking. I was thinking, okay, great, he's giving up the exchange, I'll take the exchange, and then he took the queen, and then I realized, okay, now I cannot take the bishop because my rook is pinned. So these are these tricky moments in which you have to be very careful. So even if I face, I am facing a weaker opponent, but if I blunder a rook or something, he will win. So I have to be careful. So now I was thinking of unpinning. So how to unpin this rook? If I go to king to h1, he will give me check here, and then I just have to come back and so forth. So this is why I played h4. Maybe preparing h5 in the future, but the main reason was to go with king to h2 and to unpin this rook. He played rook to e8 here, so he's attacking my pawn. Okay, and now I'm defending the pawn by giving the check and also penetrating here on f6. So in f6 check. He played king to g8, and now I'm just unpinning. So I'm going with this king to h2. Here he played h6. So I think the idea of h6 was, to stop me from playing queen to g5 and then again threatening this bishop. I guess something along these lines. And here, okay, I still wanted to pin him, and I almost made a terrible blunder. I was considering this, rook to g1, and I almost played this. I mean, if I was playing instantly, I would play rook to g1, and then I would just lose the game because he will take the rook with the check, and he will win from this position, obviously. But okay, I just gave this a little bit more thought, and I realized that I lose the game if I play rook to g1. So I remember that I played this king to h2 in order to unpin, so I just need to move another rook to the g file. And now this is hanging. And he played for the one last trick, which is actually very good. So here I realized that he can sort of trap my queen. So this is maybe why he played h6. Now he wants to trap my queen, exactly. So, okay, in this position, he's playing for tricks, and this is a good way to play. He's obviously losing the game. He's down the material. I have the attack and the initiative and so on. So he's looking, rook to e6. How can I escape? I can escape here on, so rook e6. I can escape on g5, and I can escape on d8. And if he takes both of these d squares, he can trap my queen. And I did consider this move, but I thought, yeah, I can escape. So after he played h6, I played this rook to g2. I was considering this briefly, but I said, okay, doesn't matter. And here he played queen to c7. So the idea was to take away these two squares. So it's good tactical thinking, and I didn't even see this. So I didn't see that this is covering the only escape square for my queen and that this traps the queen. I'm just being honest. I just didn't see this, but I did see that now I'm crashing. So I took the bishop, which was free, and now he played this rook to e6. So if there wasn't the forcing sequence of move which I played, I mean I would still be better or equal if I take the rook, he takes the rook. I'll have two rooks for the queen with some extra material, initiative, and so forth. So still, it will not be, even if this does trap the queen, I will still probably be better. And here it was the first moment in which I was like, oh, I didn't see this. So I was starting to be a little bit afraid, that I missed, I will lose the queen. But then very soon I saw the winning combination. So it's just rook takes g6 with the check. He has to take with the pawn, and now queen to f6. I'm just the material is equal, but I have the initiative, and he's just having a very weak king here. So after king to h7, I played rook to f7 check. Now I will win the queen. If he takes, I take with the check, and I win the rook. So yeah, in this moment he resigned the game, and he told me if this was a mate in 2, he would let me mate him because it's prettier to see a mate on the board. But since I need at least 6 or 7 moves to mate, he decides to resign the game. So if he was to take, I would take everything, and I would have to promote this pawn, and this is how it will be made in 6 or 7 moves. Anyway, he resigned here, we shook hands, and this is it, the end of round 6. Now I have one rest day. Actually, in this rest day, there will be a blitz tournament and a rapid tournament, but I'm just too tired, from chess to play these tournaments. So I will use this rest day to rest and also to do some coaching, because I had to tell my students that I'm playing the tournament, so I cannot do my regular coaching hours. So I will do them in my rest day. Okay, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next round soon. Cheers.